It is time to say good afternoon to David Heurtel, our former Quebec Liberal cabinet minister and, of course, now political analyst. David, I need to start with what I read this morning in the Gazette about Éric Duhem. It seems to me, could be wrong here, the early theme for this provincial election this year is flip-flop, because here we go yet again. First it was Charles Milliard, and now all of a sudden, Éric Duhem, the leader of the provincial Conservatives, who criticized Charles Milliard, of course, for kind of waffling, if you will, on Bill 96, has just done the same thing.
And back in 2022 and after, wasn't he even on your show and across the English-speaking community saying that he would remove the notwithstanding clause from Bill 96? He would even scrap entirely Bill 96. But there's a difference now, and it's no coincidence. Well, I don't think it's a coincidence. I rarely believe in coincidences in politics. But Philippe J. Fournier in Quebec 125 came out with his latest projections, and it's confirming what we've known for a while. But now you have the new polling integrated since Christine Frechette officially became premier. And the big difference now is that Éric Duhem has 10 seats in Quebec where he's in the lead. We've never seen that before. And it's in the Quebec City region. It's in Chaudière-Appalaches, which is the region on the South Shore across from Quebec City. And he's leading in a seat in the townships, which is new in itself. And so you got to think that right now his theme of a autonomous nationalist message, basically trying to take, as we discussed earlier this week, he's trying to take that mantle, that François Legault mantle, but François Legault version before 2018. Very nationalist, very flame-throwing language that is resonating with older francophones in the regions. And so there it is. There's the explanation. He just put out a book. He's talking about having a committee on toxic federalism, a permanent committee on toxic federalism that will, and he proposes to put the notwithstanding clause on everything out of the National Assembly, and not ignore basically the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and only base himself on the Quebec Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So, he's basically shifting completely from where he was maybe even a year ago.
Did you see this coming, David? Could you have seen this coming?
Well, what happened is that, see it coming in the sense that what happened is I didn't see it to that extent. But what Éric Duhem has been trying to do since 2022, Aaron, is trying to reinvent himself and be more in line with mainstream politics, because he was quite fringe. Also, his numbers aren't good personally. He's one of the most unpopular politicians in Quebec. Is also, even the last Léger, when you ask who would make the best premier, he's still fourth. I mean, there are more people supporting, and that's true of every party, by the way. There are more people supporting the Conservatives that see him as premier, as best premier. But to be fair, that's true of absolutely every
party. Sure,
every party. Even Paul-Saint-Pierre Plamondon, who's at 31% in support for the PQ, is at 23% on who would make the best premier. But at the same time, I think what's happening, it's two things. The Liberals, for the last 2 years, whether it's, and you can forget, of course, Marc Tanguay was interim leader. He didn't have full freedom to move, but under Pablo Rodriguez and now under Charles Milliard, the Liberals have positioned themselves as, and the only real message that we've had from the Liberals is, we're the Federalist Party, we're the anti-referendum party. With the CAQ completely cratering, that third way is not spoken for. And there are a lot of Quebecers that, because the Liberals have not developed an economic language, a cost of living language, affordability, healthcare, and housing, they haven't developed on that to broaden their support. There is a vacuum right now. And that doesn't mean that that Éric Duhem is going to sweep into power in October, but it does explain why some people in the regions, especially, remember, Quebec City and Chaudière-Appalaches, that's where the CAQ started really getting their real support. That's where they're from. So it's a more nationalist, autonomous region. And so I think that explains the shift, because with the CAQ, again, cratering and Bernard Drinville not winning the race to become CAQ leader, he was representing that. And remember, there was that joke, right? Bernard Drinville and Éric Duhem basically were talking the same language for a while.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what motivates Éric Duhem right now in taking the path that he's taking, because look, it's working. For the first time, the Conservatives are seriously ahead in 10 ridings.
You know, I'm trying to sort of understand. I mean, I appreciate political expediency. I mean, everything eventually, I think, in politics comes down to that. You can think I'm being cynical, but, you know, I think it's becoming pretty obvious, right? And I'm imagining Paul St. Pierre Plamondon is going to do something in the next week or so to prove that point. But with respect to what's happening with Christine Frechette, and I know you mentioned this yesterday, so she meets with Soraya Martinez-Ferretta. That's expected. Any premier would have done it, I guess. Then there's this big payout or pledge, if you will, to Maisonneuve-Rosemont. And then people are asking the question, does this sort of signify a new change in how the provincial government is going to deal with the city of Montreal? Which seems a fair question to ask until you consider that it's not going to be Christine Frechette in all chances or all likelihood in October. So what's this all about?
Okay, I want to get to that question, but just quickly on Paul St. Pierre Plamondon and political expediency, let's remember, he did postpone the referendum till 2029 or 2030.
Kind of.
He did say that.
He talked about it.
I will do it in the first mandate, but I won't. I'll do it probably in year 3 or year 4. He is affected by what's going on. Anyways, I'm just saying. He's not saying, you know, remember in January he was saying the referendum campaign begins now.
Exactly, yeah.
And he went in Terrebonne to campaign for the federal bloc candidate, and he didn't mention independence once.
Yeah,
but
surprise.
yeah, exactly. So there is some political expediency there. But back to your original question on Christine Frechette, I get what you're saying, but there's. I think the move on Maisonneuve-Rosemont is first and foremost when you come to power, like in the same circumstances Christine Frechette is doing, and you're 5 months away from a political election campaign, you want to get rid of as many irritants as possible. I.e., she announced a deal with the specialists. Maisonneuve-Rosemont is not just a Montreal-centric hospital. It also serves people on the South Shore and the North Shore of Montreal. It's a major hospital, and it was definitely a huge negative when and again, let's remember, healthcare is a top issue for Quebecers. Every other week you had these, and you mentioned them, these horrific images about the status of that hospital. I mean, it's shameful. And so I think it was more about an irritant, because if you look politically, if there is any shot for Christine Frechette at winning seats at all in October, it's not going to be in Montreal. Right now, again, Philippe J. Fournier, Quebec 125, the projections for Montreal for the CAQ are 0. The 2 seats currently held by the CAQ, they're gone. And total projections, and, you know, I've been telling you, the Christine Frechette bump hasn't been that great, because even with her arriving and her trying to make some announcements, the projections are still between 0 and 4 seats across Quebec.
All right. Well, we have a long way to go, obviously. We'll see if that changes. I think at some point Christine Frechette's going to run out of money, despite what Eric Girard left her, you know, Maisonneuve-Rosemont,
and remember, that's so true. And another thing, remember, last week, she was signaling that she was going to make announcements on the price of gas and also on the price of food. And that's gone by the wayside. She only made an announcement on the welcome tax.
Right.
But when she became premier, when she took the oath, she was saying, she was telegraphing even before she took the oath that she was going to make announcements on to positively impact the grocery bill and the gasoline bill, and she hasn't done so.
That's next week, David. Next week. Remember, you heard that here first. Then there's a story. I don't know how many people are going to be affected by this. It seems that we've been talking about this forever, right? Alexandre Boulris, the only federal NDP member in Quebec, who's suddenly, it's been talked about, as I said, for a while. He's making the move to provincial politics to Quebec Solidaire, and I'm curious what you think of this move.
Well, I mean, for Boulris, it is definitely. I mean, the NDP is going nowhere, and I think now they're going to be down to 5. I think it says something about the new leader, Avi Lewis. I don't think Alexandre Boulris is seeing himself with any kind of real solid future, especially now with a liberal majority. I mean, can you imagine treading water with 5 seats and Avi Lewis? For 3 years.
But with all due respect, how much different is that than Quebec Solidaire?
Well, Quebec Solidaire, I could see strategic. First of all, he's going to the riding of Gouin, which is basically this. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's basically the same neighborhoods than his federal riding. That was Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois' riding. It was also Françoise David, the co-founder of Quebec Solidaire's riding. It's a very entrenched Quebec Solidaire riding.
Okay.
And in terms of rebuilding the party, who knows? I mean, he could be as soon as this election, the candidate for premier, or at least co-candidate, or if not, in terms of rebuilding the party. After the October election, he could play a major role in that because he's extremely respected in those circles.
Okay. I wanted to get to this. We're going to run out of time. I'm just curious, anything new today that you heard with respect to Canada-U.S. trade negotiations back and forth? I know we heard from another American basically calling Canada out again. Anything that caught your attention today?
The ambassador's testimony, our ambassador's testimony before the Commons Committee. I mean, he apologized for the English-only invitation, and he walked back statements that he made before he was named ambassador on supply management, the supply management system, and said, "Look, I'm going to defend it." And so, I think he had the right answers and came in line with the Prime Minister's positions and didn't hurt in any way the Prime Minister's stance and Canada's stance, which is a good thing.
There you go, in and of itself. All right, David, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll. We're coming to get you! One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them.
It's only love, and that's all. Bryan Adams Radio. I'm coming back to you. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds great.